and welcome to the 41st edition of Marex Maritime News.
The recently issued DGS MS Notice number 15 of 2020 states that maritime training, shipboard training, recruitment and placement aspects need to be dynamic and keep pace with technological advances. Therefore, it is imperative to bring in reform in the monitoring process of shipboard training, recruitment and placement, etc. on a regular basis. In order to achieve this, the Directorate General of Shipping has developed the CIP, or the Comprehensive Inspection Program for the Recruitment and Placement Services License, which shall be conducted once a year to grade the performance of RPSL holders. The CIP is to replace the existing initial, annual and renewal inspections of RPSL mandated under Rule 13 of Merchant Shipping R&PS Rules 2016. But all might not be thrilled with this announcement. In fact, the circular has reportedly unleashed a storm within the shipmanning industry, with several players seeking a complete revamp of this notification.
The administration has issued the circular on the comprehensive inspection program for RPS companies recently. We have not had time to study that because this issue had been going on for about a year. It started about a year ago, and the last 8 months have been a complete washout because we have had some minor problems like crew changes, for example, which took precedence, and the fact that most of our members and companies have not been able to attend office regularly. So our initial response is we need to study what has been said and whether our earlier recommendations have been taken into account. And the second response is, why now when we have much bigger problems on hand at the moment? So let us go over the circular, what it says, before we would like to make any concrete comment in that regard.
As responsible members of the Indian maritime community, FOSMA, along with other stakeholders, namely MASA, INSA, MUI, NUSI, IMF, ICSA, to name a few, have constantly worked alongside the Maritime Administration to ensure that our seafarers are provided with a free and fair opportunity to employment. It is a matter of record that we have been an integral part of every collaborative effort in the rulemaking, not least providing and sharing subject matter expertise based on our business knowledge and experience. The new Merchant Shipping Notice number 15 has just been received, and we as an industry need to examine and deliberate amongst ourselves to address the DG office with our concerns in the matter. During our previous collective deliberations on this very subject, FOSMA MASA representing our RPS members had highlighted serious reservations that the Directorate introduces a grading mechanism. We are not sure whether in their capacity of licensing authority this should be their role. The stakeholders will no doubt be examining the circular in greater detail and engaging with the DG's office to raise our concerns, and are confident that these will be addressed.
These are the headlines on Monday, 23rd November 2020. Container freight rates are reaching record levels. GE Shipping takes delivery of Jaglara LR2 product carrier. Conventional methanol has approvals and experience needed to scale up. Oil market could prove stubborn to shift. India could assist Bangladesh with defense-related shipbuilding. Last week, Shanghai container freight spot rate index to Europe rose sharply, with Northern Europe rates up 21% and Mediterranean rates up 23%, potentially with more increases ahead, according to Lars Janssen, CEO, Sea Intelligence Consulting. This means that both these trades are now at levels that have not been seen since early 2014, and more increases might be in store, Janssen has forecast. Both CMA CGM and AP Mollard Maersk have recorded sizable profits for the third and last quarter of 2020.
Carriers need to be profitable, and carriers being highly profitable is good for global trade, as it will attract more players in the segment. The question should not be about record profits or what are peak freight rates or what are fair freight rates. The point in question should be, are market forces at play? Is the increase in profitability because of improved efficiency and innovation? The question should be whether the undercurrents of blank calls and container shortage are completely invisible. This is a big alarm for the Indians, the Indian exim trade, manufacturers and the authorities, to ensure that we have Indian capacity of owning container ship and of owning containers. That is where lies the solution to this problem.
World trade has surprisingly stayed buoyant in the COVID era, the carriers having rationalized their capacities in the months of April and May. However, it appears that the capacity reduction has exceeded the demand, leading to shortages and thus an increase in rates. This is a phase and will pass on. What we must see is freight as percentage of cost of goods, and that has not gone up substantially in spite of the absolute increase in freight. These are cyclical phases, and we just need to have the patience to withstand the impact while they last.
The Great Eastern Shipping Company has taken the delivery of a used LR2 product carrier, Jaglara, of about 1,05,258 deadweight tons, DWT. Including this vessel, the company's current fleet now stands at 47 vessels, comprising of 34 tankers and 13 dry bulk carriers, with an average age of 12.48 years, aggregating 3.80 million DWT. The Global Maritime Forum, in their recent report, their first wave, a blueprint of commercial-scale zero-emission shipping pilots, has concluded that methanol, produced from a combination of hydrogen and CO or CO2, could be more easily available than blue or green renewable ammonia in the short term, as dual methanol HFO engines are already commercially available. With the IMO framework for its use as a marine fuel recently approved, methanol answers all the primary demands of a low-carbon interim fuel and a long-term zero-carbon one.
Methanol apparently gives you 99% less SOx, 95% less particulate matter, and an impressive 60% reduction in NOx. It is more environmentally benign for the fish as well. They are 1,500 times more tolerant than gasoline. So, is the fuel ready for use in marine diesel engines? Most engine manufacturers claim that methanol can be used as a direct drop-in fuel or as a biofuel. MAN has released a variant of their ME engines, which is a pure methanol engine. With the demand increasing for low emission engines and fuels, this is in the right direction. So what do operators say? Stena has been operating on methanol for some time. They claim to have thousands of hours of operating experience. Westphal Larsen, Mitsui OSK are all extremely positive about this low impact, environmental friendly fuel. And what does it mean for the seafarer? There are still some question marks about bunkering, storage on board. Keep in mind that the calorific value of methanol is just half of that of gasoline. That means you'll need twice the amount of fuel to be stored in your tanks. The carbon footprint hasn't yet been established. That will of course depend on how methanol is produced, whether it is from wood, biomass, natural gas, or from synthesis or CO2. All in all, positive. Anything that helps the environment is something that we should welcome. You'll hear a lot about methanol in the coming days.
There is no doubt that methanol is an emerging alternative innovative fuel of today and the future, being safe and cost effective, especially when the recent IMO action on greenhouse gas emission reductions further narrow the future options for shipping. That is at least 50% greenhouse gas reduction by the year 2050. So when you compare it to alternative fuels currently available, methanol has a reduced carbon initiative and reduces smog causing emissions such as sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides and particulates. And the benefits also include lower production costs and improved safety. Further, it is miscible in water and less hazardous to the environment than diesel or heavy fuel oil, biodegrading rapidly in the event of a spill taking place. Methanol has a low flash point of 11 degrees centigrade and is a liquid fuel at ambient temperature. So bunkering of methanol and storage can be easier on board ships compared to ammonia that has higher safety concerns. Even the existing vessels can be converted easily to run the engines on methanol.
And now, the news in detail.
The next step is now, definitely there has been some pressure on Indian jobs in one way or another.
Indian Maritime University, a central university under Ministry of Shipping, Government of India.
The glut in the oil market could prove stubborn to shift. Potential changes in the OPEC Plus and the US policies won't solve the industry's demand problem, while the world's key oil producers have been hard pushed to cut supply further. Only a vaccine can cure COVID-19 induced consumption ills. Record coronavirus cases, a new wave of lockdowns across Europe, and stagnant road use trend in the US have forced oil forecasters to scale back their recovery scenarios. The major European economies have seen a mobility drop to its lowest since mid-June, signaling a renewed collapse in the gasoline and diesel demands.
Earnings in tanker market remain unexciting and not surprisingly, second-hand values continue their downward trend. Celine Trader 300,000 deadweight 2003 built SS due September 23, dry dock due November 21 has seen interest around $23.5-24 million. If she sells at these levels, this will highlight the market falling. Recovery in the wet markets is fraught with uncertainty. Unprecedented global health and economic crisis severely affect the outlook. Predicting the timing and scale of the recovery is challenging, as many factors can significantly influence the outlook. Factors significantly influencing the outlook are pathway of the pandemic, effectiveness of efforts to control further outbreaks, and continued shifts in spending patterns. Oil and gas demand dropped off a cliff when national and international movement of people was restricted, resulting in jet fuel consumption dropped due to very limited long-range international flights. Tanker tonnage supply is forecast to remain high for some time, and the management of vessel order books and recycling will be crucial to improve market imbalances and reduce freight volatility. What the markets need is risk management and resilience building as new policy and business mantras. An accelerated shift in globalization patterns and supply chain designs. Disruptions may trigger deep shifts in the overall operating landscape, together with a heightened sustainability and resilience building imperative. Important question: are markets well prepared to enter the post-COVID-19 pandemic world? A second wave of COVID-19 infection has already triggered another round of business closures and financial distress. On the demolition side, a VLCC 300,000 deadweight, 25 years old, ended a demolition drought of 512 days. Owners of these large tankers need to start switching their attention to the recycling industry. The last VLCC that was scrapped in Bangladesh was in June of 2019. Cheap oil cargoes flooded the market. Crude oil tanker shipping now faces challenging times ahead. VLCC on the 13th of November could expect earning of $11,400 a day, which is less than half of what is needed to cover financing and operating costs, which average $25,000 a day. A return to profitable rates is not currently on the horizon. VLCCs unfortunately have been kept active when they found employment at profitable rates, either for active trading or floating storage. With poor outlook, there seems to be little incentive to keep these ships sailing once their contracts expire. Could US crude oil exports provide a boost to the tanker market? The tanker market has suffered of late and doesn't seem to be able to capitalize on this year's seasonal demand in the northern hemisphere as usual. Crude oil exports from US surged spectacularly in recent years thanks to the shale revolution, but are now slowing down quite a bit. In the first 10 months of 2020, US exported 118 million tons of crude oil by sea, excluding domestic cabotage. This represents a net increase of 13.5% year-on-year compared to the 104.5 million tons exported in the same period of 2019. Last year, US exports increased 47% year-on-year in the same period, and 2 years ago the growth in exports was 110% year-on-year. In the third quarter of 2020, US exported 36 million tons of crude oil, which was 18% more than in the same quarter last year. We are not particularly optimistic about the final quarter, which last year was the strongest of the year. It already started badly with exports in October at 12 million tons, down 11% year-on-year from the same month last year. Exports from USA to the EU surged by 35% year-on-year in the first 10 months of 2020 to 30.5 million tons, explained by geopolitical considerations. Total EU seaborne imports of crude oil unsurprisingly declined by 12.5% so far this year. Imports from Russia were down 15%, from Arabian Gulf down by 39%, from North Africa down by 39%. China was the destination of 15% of American oil exports so far this year. South Korea was down by 33%, Canada was down 20%, India modestly was up by 7%. As debate on recovery continues to evolve, it is becoming clear that disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic will have a lasting impact on shipping trade.
Defense cooperation between India and Bangladesh has made significant gains in the last few years and will be expanded in the coming years, including in the shipbuilding sector. Raj Kumar, Secretary, Defense Production Ministry of Defense on Thursday said that the defense cooperation and partnership between India and Bangladesh has made significant gains in the last few years.
The shipping industry's climate impact is large and growing, but a team in Costa Rica is making way for a clean shipping revolution with a cargo ship made entirely of wood, which they say will be the world's largest ocean-going clean cargo ship. The Ceiba is the first vessel built by Sail Cargo, a company trying to prove that zero-carbon shipping is possible and commercially viable. Made largely of timber, Ceiba combines both very old and very new technology. Sailing masts stand alongside solar panels, a uniquely designed electric engine, and batteries. Once on the water, she will be capable of crossing oceans entirely without the use of fossil fuels. The story of how the shipping industry a century ago ditched coal for diesel shows it could go green very fast. When the diesel-powered MS Sealandia set sail on her maiden voyage in February 1912, people were so astonished by the sight of an ocean liner that didn't spew steam that they named it the Phantom Ship. With that first trip from Copenhagen to Bangkok, the ship proved a largely untested technology to be cheaper, cleaner, and more efficient than coal, to the point that it rendered steamships obsolete within a few years. The Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or IRNSS, has been accepted by the IMO as a component of the worldwide radio navigation system for operation in the Indian Ocean region. This will enable merchant vessels to use IRNSS for obtaining positions similar to GPS and GLONASS to assist in the navigation of ships in ocean waters up to 1500 kilometers from the Indian coastline. This is a significant achievement of the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, the Directorate General of Shipping, and the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO towards Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for watching. See you on next Monday.